This mini lecture is about reactions of alkanes. There's two reactions we'll be discussing. The first one will be halogenation or radical halogenation. The other one is about combustion. Now, as far as halogenation goes, what's happening is that we are getting a situation where chlorine is being split up by light, and it's being split up into two atoms. Now, if you notice the arrows I'm using here, they're called fish hooks or half arrows, and they're showing the movement of one electron. So what this is showing here is that one electron, just two electrons in the bond, and one electron is going to this Cl and the other electron is going to this Cl. So this gives us two Cl dots. These are radicals because they're not charged, they're just single electron species. What can happen then is that the chlorine can abstract a hydrogen from an alkane, leaving an alkyl radical which has a dot on the C. Now this kind of situation where we're going from a radical and forming a radical is called a propagation step. Now a product can form by termination, and that's when two radicals get together and that gives you a product. Now what we're going to stick with pretty much are these monochlorinated products. And as I've intimated here in this diagram, you're going to end up getting as many monochlorinated products as you have different hydrogens on the initial molecule. So allow me to explain that a little bit further. Alright, so if we look at a molecule such as this one, this is just ethane. And what I want you to understand is that every single one of these hydrogens is the same. So when we react it with Cl2, the only product we get would be this one, where the Cl replaces one of the hydrogens. As line structures, it will look like this. Now, one technique I'm going to go through now is how to label hydrogens and label them as being the same or different. And in this instance, I would just label this one as being A, and actually all of these would be labeled as A, I suppose, if you want to go that far. They're all the same, so you only get one possible product. So that's a fairly simplistic example. Let's look at something a little bit more complicated. What about something like, we have this one on the previous slide, but let's say we've got a propane like that, and we want to figure out what kind of products we're going to get from Cl2, and usually we have light here as well. The other thing we might see is H nu, which of course just means light energy. Now the different kinds of hydrogens we have here, if I was to label them A and B and whatever else, I'd label that one A, I'd label that one B, and I'd label this one A. The reason for that is because if you look at the symmetry in the molecule, there's a plane of symmetry right down the center, which makes these carbons and the hydrogens attached to them exactly the same. So if I was going to draw the products that this one would have with chlorine, I'd put a chlorine on one of the A's and I'd put a chlorine on the B. So this is kind of similar to the isomer stuff that we were doing earlier as well, and you should go back and review that if that's helpful to you. Alright, if you've got something like this, now remember we can only really label things that have hydrogens on them, and that's not an issue, it's not a problem. So this one would just be all A's, so if I did Cl2 and light, then the only product I could draw would be this one. Alright, well let's continue with some more difficult examples. Okay, what about something like this? Or just a straight chain like that. Well, what I could do is I could label it as A, B, and then C. Now since this actually has a plane of symmetry down here, I would label this one C and B and A. So when this reacts with Cl2 and light, what we're going to get is Cl here, Cl here, and a Cl here. So we get three separate products. So just understand that we are going to get as many different Cl products as we have different hydrogens in the molecule. Now if I tried to put chlorines here and here and here, I'd just be repeating my structures. Alright, try something else. Let's say something like this. Now again, symmetry is going to play a big part in the way we label these, but if I label this one A, B, C, understanding that there's a plane of symmetry through the center, that would give me a C here as well. There's also a plane of symmetry through this part as well, so that's going to make this one C and this one C. That's going to be B and that's going to be A. So we react this with Cl2 and light, we're going to end up with three products. One attached to A, one attached to B, and one attached to C. And understand that putting the Cl on any of these carbons is going to end up giving you the same thing. So we end up with three products for that one. Okay, another example. Something similar to before, but now we'll just put the methyl group down here. And when I label this one, that's going to be A, B, C, and we do still have a plane of symmetry down this way, so that's going to be C as well. Now this will be D and D, because these are no longer the same. And they're no longer the same because if you look at the distance between the C and the methyl group and the D and the methyl group, they're different. That's enough to make them different. And then we've got a fifth one up here, that'll be E. So if I do Cl2 and light with this one, I'm going to end up getting 5 different products. And it's one for each different kind of hydrogen, which is each different letter that I have on there. I'll put the Cl over here. That's going to be the same thing. And one more. Alright, so we have one for each A, B, and C, and D, and E attachment. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is combustion of alkanes, and the combustion of alkanes is fairly easy. All it is just the alkane gets converted into carbon dioxide and water. And it doesn't matter what the structure of the alkane is. It could be any alkane, and it's still going to give you the same structure. So let's say we started off with this compound. Combustion is the reaction of an alkane with oxygen, and all we're going to get is CO2 and H2O. Now you can balance it if you want to, but I'm not asking you to balance them. I'm just asking you to give me the products. Change this one, O2, and again we're going to get just CO2 and water. O2, CO2 and water. It doesn't matter what the structure is, the product of combustion will always be carbon dioxide and water.